For every loved Walking Dead character, there's always others who fans cannot stand. Starting this off with someone very well known and absolutely hated in the Walking Dead community, Negan. His arrival in season 7 episode 1 shattered what we knew of the Walking Dead. Rick's group getting trapped, to Abraham and Glenn's head being smashed into a million pieces. This start to a season was something nobody would have ever expected. Fans were heartbroken by what had just happened, with some saying, "Why? Why Glenn? I can't watch this show anymore. I'm done." Even people online really shows the pure outrage and emotion this episode really brung. Two core characters gone in front of everyone. And just when we thought the horror's over, Negan drags Rick into the RV, adding on to the furthermore of the punishment.
Get me my axe. Get me my axe.
You answer to me. You provide for me. You belong to me.
Now, Negan wasn't just a killer. He was an evil man who wanted the world to be his. In season 7, episode 8, while Rick's out scavenging, Negan strolls into Alexandria with the saviors, holding Rick's daughter, Judith, feeding Carl spaghetti, acting like the head of the house. This wasn't dinner, it was a message. Later that same episode, Spencer tries to convince Negan to replace Rick. They play pool while sharing a drink, talking. Then without warning, Negan guts him in the street, slowly, publicly, because he was annoyed of what Spencer was talking about. And out of pure revenge, Rosita fires a shot at him. But out of some miracle, the bullet gets lodged into Negan's back. But you know what Negan does? He doesn't kill her. He has someone else kill a random person right then, right there. Why would they even let Negan into Alexandria? The show is ruined. Feeding his son spaghetti, that's diabolical. The hate was real. Negan dominated the screen and the fandom. It took 2 seasons for Rick, Maggie, and the others to finally push back. In season 8, episode 16, Rick wounds Negan after the misfire of bullets, but spares his life. Negan ends up locked away, not dead, but defeated. As you can imagine, this idea by the producers to keep Negan made the community even more mad. He should have died, the same way Gregory did, but certain things just won't stand. Negan needed to die in season 7, episode 4, and many times after that. Negan is a horrible monster who absolutely needs to die. Now, Negan was a man with no limit, cruising along, and as some people say, ruined the show for them. What about someone who actually had a soul? Glenn. The first time we see Glenn is in season 1, episode 2, as Rick is stuck in a tank because of the overwhelming swarm of walkers in the city. Glenn spots Rick, and in that situation, he pops on the radio to say,
"I can see you. You're surrounded by walkers. That's the bad news."
Is good news?
No.
Nearly dodging death, the two made it safely up the building. Now I have to admit, if it wasn't for Glenn, Rick would have never been able to make it out of that tank. If you thought that's the only thing Glenn has done, think again. In season 2, episode 8, after the Atlanta group is forced to head south, and following the incident with Carl, they discover a farm owned by Hershel. When Hershel later goes missing, Rick and Glenn set out to rescue him. Glenn risks his life, taking down a few men in the process and bringing Hershel back to safety. The love for Glenn was like a wildfire that can't stop spreading. Fans would even say he's one of the few characters who brought heart. So many of the others let conscience stand in the way of doing what they needed to be done. He was also an extremely valuable member of the group. He's always trying to do the right thing. His development in the first 4 or 5 seasons was really good. He made a huge impact on the show itself. Glenn built his character strong, saving Rick, rescuing his wife while tied up in a chair, and so much more. But for every true hero in this story, there's always one pretending to be one. Like the guy who tried to disguise himself as a hero while secretly trying to steal Rick's wife. Shane Walsh, the man who couldn't let go. At first glance, Shane looked like a hero, Rick's best friend, a former cop, someone who stepped up for the group in Atlanta when the world was falling apart. But as the series progressed, it became clear. Shane wasn't protecting the group. He was protecting what he thought was his. From the moment Rick returned, Shane's entire world started slipping. He had taken Rick's place as a leader, as Carl's father figure, and yes, even as Lori's partner. But deep down, he knew it wasn't right. Instead of letting go, Shane spiraled. He justified every violent act as survival, shot Otis in the leg, and left him for dead to save Carl? Threatened Dale? Because Dale was weak? Nearly killed Rick in the woods? because Rick couldn't leave? Shane wasn't a protector. He was a ticking time bomb, jealous, overprotective, and slowly losing his grip on reality. His love for Lori turned uncontrollable. His hatred for Rick became deadly. And his final act, luring Rick into the woods to murder him and take his place permanently? Now, Shane wasn't a villain in the traditional sense. He was a kind of monster that wears the mask of a man, one who thought he was right. Even as he slipped into madness, his death was tragic, yes, but it was also necessary, because if Rick didn't stop him, no one else could. Some evil characters just need to go. But what about one who never deserved to have died? Hershel. From being a stubborn farmer who held skeptical views on Rick's group to becoming a trusted leader and moral compass, Hershel Green's transformation over the show is nothing short of powerful. First introduced in season 2, episode 2, after the tragic incident where Carl is accidentally shot by Otis, Hershel steps up and saves Carl's life and offers the group temporary shelter on his farm. Hershel believed the walkers were just sick people who could be cured. He kept them locked in the barn. Dangerous, but yes, driven by hope. But after a harsh reality check, he adapted. He didn't just survive, he evolved, becoming one of the few characters to maintain his health, kindness, and humanity in a world gone mad. Even when things started to become bad, like losing the farm or watching his family members die, Hershel never became depressed or cruel. Instead, he became Rick's most trusted leader, often providing the group with wisdom and faith when they were on the brink of losing themselves. By the time the prison rolled around, Hershel no longer was just a farmer or a father. He was a leader, a healer, and one of the last voices of reason in a brutal world. His strength didn't come from violence or power, but from doing what was right, no matter the cost. Sadly, even the strongest hearts can't survive in a world filled with evil. Hershel's journey came to a sudden end in season 4 when he was brutally executed, not by a walker, by a man who had lost all trace of humanity, the governor. You first meet him in season 3, and at first, he's got it all. Clean clothes, slick hair, a charming grin, and a safe town called Woodbury. But behind that front gate wasn't a haven, it was a cult. Governor wasn't just a control freak, he was obsessed with power. The man literally kept a wall of severed walker heads in a fish tank in his living room. And don't forget the creepiest part, he kept his zombified daughter chained up in a closet like a pet. But it all got worse, much worse. Once he lost Woodbury, he didn't try to rebuild it. He didn't try to change. He doubled down, became colder, more manipulative. He murdered his own people, shot them in the back just because they disagreed with him. And then came Hershel's death. Season 4, episode 8, Prison. Rick's group is standing their ground. Hershel tries to talk some sense into the governor. It's a moment of peace, a moment of hope. And what does the governor do? He smiles, and he beheads Hershel with Michonne's sword in front of his daughters, Rick, and the entire group. Let me say that again. The man who saved Carl's life, kept the group sane, and never gave up on people, was executed like nothing. Even the worst villains in The Walking Dead had a reason. But the governor, he just wanted control, power, and anyone who got in the way, men, women, children, he burned them down without a second. No redemption, no remorse, no humanity left. He didn't just kill Hershel, he killed the last silver of hope the group had left that time. And that's why fans will never forgive him. Even now, when people talk about the most painful moments in The Walking Dead, Hershel's death always comes up, and the governor's careless face is forever remembered. The governor shows us what happens when power corrupts completely, but Daryl, he showed us what loyalty and quiet strength really looks like. Daryl Dixon first gets introduced onto the screen in season 1, episode 3, titled Tell It to the Frogs. And let's just say his intro was something special. He comes back from a hunt, dragging a dead deer, only find out that his brother Merle was handcuffed to a rooftop by Rick's group. Daryl was furious. He shouts, throws a fit, threatens everyone. You'd think he was gonna be a problem, but here's the twist. He wasn't. That scene wasn't about being evil. It was about loyalty. His brother was all he had, and beneath all that yelling and crossbow waving, there was a man just trying to survive. But what really makes Daryl special is how fast he evolves. By the end of that same season, he's not just a part of the group. He's risking his life to help them. He joins the mission to rescue Merle. He searches for Sophia for days in season 2. And he always watches Rick's back, even when no one else will. He never asked to be a leader. He never tried to take the spotlight, but when people needed someone to step up, Daryl always did without hesitation. And fans noticed, if Daryl dies, I'm gonna stop watching the series. I love how after all his little speeches, he walks away like a boss, leaving everyone in shock. LOL. Daryl is my favorite character, whether it's tracking down walkers in the woods or comforting Carol in her darkest moments. Daryl proved over and over, you don't need to talk much to be a hero. But as we all know in the show, peace is never permanent. One person in particular truly loves to destroy peace. Alpha. Alpha gets shown later on, season 9 episode 8, Evolution, where we can see the Alpha, her wide woman figure body with rotten walker pieces along her mask, sneaks up behind Jesus and stabs him right through his back. As spooky and cruel the introduction was, it gets much worse from here. The show will further go on by revealing the backstory of Alpha in episode 10, The Omega, where we learn she wasn't always this crazy. When the world first broke down from the apocalypse, was just a mother trying to make it through with her daughter, but she later accepted the fact nothing was going to change, so instead she did. Alpha went on to force her daughter to feel nothing, and Alpha later on in the showing coldness and violence, even going as far as shaving her head and embracing the walkers with their flesh and motion. She builds a cult of soulless survivors who wear the skin of the dead and murder for no reason. The fans have always hated Alpha for her sudden and disgusting appearance in the show, leaving fans commenting, the way she talks pisses me off. I also hate the way she wears her clothes. Tank top layered over a t-shirt, layered over a long sleeve. Come on, girl. The way she turns her head sometimes too is so exaggerated. Like, bitch, just turn your head. Why do you gotta do this weird wavy head turn? Her voice really made me want to quit the show of how annoying it is. Alpha continues to build an army and torment the group with pike murders, successfully sneaking into Hilltop and kidnapping 10 characters we all know and love. Henry, Tara, Enid, Addie, Rodney, Ozzy, Alec, DJ, Frankie, and Tammy in season 9, episode 15, The Calm Before. Those same characters return, but looking a little different. Their heads were stuck on pikes on a hill, representing Alpha's wrath. Yeah, that freaks me out. While Alpha ruled with fear and relentless murders, there was one woman who led with strength, compassion, and heart, Michonne. Michonne first shows up at the end of season 2, holding a katana, pulling 2 walkers on chains, and walking by herself. Now, as creepy and distorted as that sounds, it never really defined who she was. Deep down, Michonne took responsibility for the group. As for when Andrea was stranded from the barn being overran, Michonne found her and treated Andrea. She would even later go on to care for Rick's baby daughter, Judith, and lead Alexandria into battle. No matter what came in her way, nothing was impossible in her mind. After Michonne lost her child and Rick, she stayed strong and never gave in to the bitterness like Alpha did. Fans have loved Michonne for years. Her severe and long impact on the show made her one of the most respected, powerful, and loved characters in the Walking Dead universe. But not all that applies to Andrea. See, we first got familiar with Andrea in season 1, episode 2, when she was a part of the original Atlanta Survivor group. At first, she seemed smart, tough, and protective, especially when it came to her sister Amy. But as the seasons went on, Andrea's character took a nosedive. She constantly made reckless decisions, sided with the wrong people, especially the governor, and pushed away people who actually cared about her. The fact she had a safe place with Rick's group, and even the person who took her into safety and treated her, Michonne, Andrea, of course, the dumb blonde chick she is, sleeps with the governor and forgets about the truth. What started as a promising character turned into one of the show's biggest disappointments. Fans definitely had something to say about her. Andrea did us a solid by introducing Michonne to the group. She had served her purpose. Yeah, Andrea was done dirty in the show. Honestly, I was so glad when she was finally gone, because it really felt like she had no character arc, and I was getting tired of her being the source of attention. Personally, Andrea always seemed like a careless dumb blonde who had a survival instinct of a fart. Last but not least, what about someone who used to have survival instincts of a fart, although later throughout the show became one of the most deadliest and friendliest characters of all time? Gabriel. Now, Gabriel was found on top of a rock, scared to death, after his church was overran by walkers. Being the priest he was, Gabriel never believed in violence, always praying for God's protection. After traumatic traumatic losses and witnesses Gabriel has seen, he slowly transformed. The man who once locked out his congressions out of fear and cowardness now started picking up a weapon instead of a Bible. His faith was tested, broken, and eventually reshaped into something for good. By the time he aligned with Rick's group, wasn't just surviving, he was evolving from a scared preacher to a cold-eyed sniper who once said, "God isn't here anymore." His journey became one of the most drastic shifts in the series, proving that even the most devout could be hardened by the apocalypse. But let me know your 5 most hated and 5 most loved characters down below in the comments, and make sure to click this video on screen right here. I'm sure you'll love it just as much as you loved this one.
Adios, amigos.